What's going on, everybody? We're back at it again with Dalton, aka DJ Rohrbraugh. Dalton was an NCAA All American for the York College Spartans. He was also a two-time PIAA state medalist. So transitioning into that, so you, like I said, you're a very successful wrestler out of high school. You're 153 and 16. Two-time state medalist. So describe the recruiting process coming out of high school. Like, where were you looking? What were you looking for in a school? Stuff like that.
To be honest with you, coming out of high school, the biggest mindset that I had was that I was going Division 1. I really didn't pay any attention to any Division 2 or Division 3 schools that were reaching out to me. My main two by the end were Lock Haven and Edinburgh. And to be completely honest with you, it's because those were really the only two that were giving me any interest by the end, mostly because of my grades. I didn't really have the greatest grades in high school, and it took a lot of opportunities away from me. I did take a visit to North Carolina State, but just the big school, huge campus, just I wouldn't have been able to succeed there. It wasn't a place that I could have done anything. So Lock Haven and Edinburgh were my top two. I took my visit to Lock Haven, and I loved it. And I think I ended up committing like 2 or 3 days later. So I only took 2 real visits, other than a couple walkthroughs of some different campuses, but 2 real visits.
So how was the transition from high school to Division 1? Was it what you were expecting initially, or not at all? Like, talk about that for us.
I would say it was kind of 50-50. I understood that it was a big step up, but at the same time, I went from, I was the top dog at Spring Grove. I was that guy on the wrestling team. Everybody knew who I was. Everybody knew what I was doing. And then I got to Lock Haven Division 1, and it was kind of like there wasn't anyone that I could just go in and beat up on. I was getting beat up day in and day out, and which that wasn't really a problem for me. I could deal with that. I could take that, but it was definitely a little different than what I was used to. So it took some getting used to for practices and all that.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you see that often. Like, I mean, anyone, like, you can't go from even like the top, prospects coming out, they all say the same thing. Like, yeah, it's hard getting takedowns or whatever, or hard getting out from bottom or whatever, and then they start to figure that out. So with that being said, discuss what the transfer process was like after you decided to leave, and did you have any sort of idea where you wanted to go, or what were you looking for at, or what were you looking at the second go around?
Well, to start off, when I first quit and when I left the team at Lock Haven, I didn't want to wrestle again. My plan was to just finish out my school at Lock Haven and be done with the sport altogether. It was a lot of I was mentally drained from wrestling, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. But after about a month or two, when I decided I did want to continue wrestling, the first thing I had to do was I had to go to the head coach at Lock Haven, Scott Moore, and I had to ask to be officially released from the team. And the answer I got from him was, "I'll think about it," which that was just, playing games. And I knew with that, but I also knew what the rules were. I looked them up and all that. So he had, after I gave a verbal ask to be released from the team, he had 2 weeks, I believe, to give me a valid answer, or I would be already released, which what released means is that I can officially
start taking visits and stuff.
I can talk to other schools. I can talk to people, but then I also had to be put in the transfer portal, which that was a more formal process. I had to get papers signed by the athletic director at Lock Haven and by Scott Moore, which when I went back for that, I was definitely nervous to have another conversation with him, but everything went fine. And he went in, he signed off on it. I signed off on that. I would not go to another MAC. I believe we were in the MAC at the time. So I couldn't go to another MAC. I couldn't have gone to Clarion or, Edinburgh. If I've transferred to one of those schools, I would have had to sit out for a year, but I knew I wasn't doing that. I really didn't want to go to Division 1 anymore. I wanted to go somewhere where I could wrestle, have fun, but it wasn't a life, it wasn't my whole life. I wasn't there all year round. I wasn't worrying about cutting weight all year round. I wanted to have time to actually do things that I wanted to do along with wrestling.
Yeah, it makes sense. So what other schools had initially reached out to you, when you first officially got put in the transfer portal, and what was the silver lining when you decided to come here?
Honestly, I probably got 30, 40 emails from different schools, mostly Division II and Division III, a couple Division I. George Mason reached out to me. Binghamton reached out to me. But I just told him, I said, look, I'm looking to go close to home, so I'm not really interested, but,
Yeah.
just being respectful about it, being professional about it, but I wasn't interested. My top three by the time it was all said and done was Shippensburg, Millersville, and York. Shippensburg, I liked Shippensburg. It didn't feel right when I was there. Millersville, to be completely honest with you, I just didn't like the coach. I didn't like Terry Regner. And he's a great coach. He knows what he's doing. I just did not personally like him. And it is what it is. I'm sure there's other people that feel that way. I'm sure there's people that love him. I would not have been able to wrestle for him. And then I came to York, and the biggest thing I liked about York when I first got here is that, I didn't really take a visit. It was kind of like Bashers called me, and I just came in and sat and watched the practice. And then I came in and I drilled with, I drilled with Coons and Maver.
Okay.
And we just got a workout in. And so it wasn't really a visit. It was kind of just come meet the guys, get a drill in. And I liked that. And, I met Hutch and all those guys. So I just thought it was cool.
Yeah. So compare and contrast like the competition and the training between Division I and D3.
The training level, I really don't, I haven't seen a huge difference in the training level between Division III and Division I. You definitely get more time off. But as far as when you're actually training, I don't really see a difference. The competition level is obviously the biggest thing. I've had some matches this year. I had some tournaments where I kind of went into and I blew through everything. If I look back at Ursinus, I had 4 pins in like 10 minutes or something like that. I blew through that tournament. That doesn't happen at Division I tournaments, unless you're Spencer Lee or somebody like that,
Something crazy.
Yeah, there were no tournaments when I was at Lockhaven where I was like, all right, I'm winning this easily. Every time you step down the mat, it was a dog fight. And to be honest with you, I kind of miss that because I do like being in that fight, being in that tight match. But it's also nice to go out and just put somebody away real quick.
Yeah, yeah. So you left the team initially in the fall of 2019. Then you announced your transfer in January of 2020, and then obviously you got locked down in March of 2020. So how much of an impact did that have on you getting into like the swing of training again? Because obviously, like you said, you quit the team you had left, and obviously when you're trying to get back into it, everything, the world, got the entire down. So how hard was that, or like how much of an impact did that have on you?
I think it was pretty impactful. It was hard to find places to train, but I had mats of my own, so I would just have people over and wrestle. But I think the biggest thing for our season getting canceled that year was that I was itching and I was curious to see if I could still compete. It had been so long since I competed at a high level. Because even my last year at Lockhaven, with being down at 25 and cutting that much and wrestling that year, I was not competing at a high level.
Yeah.
So I wanted to see that if I moved up a weight or 2 weights at that time I was thinking about, if I could still compete at a high level. So that was just like, it was a mental game with myself, just tell myself, hey, just keep training, keep doing what you're doing. You'll get your shot eventually. But it's tough because you never know when that day's going to come. But like I was just trying to take it day by day and, do the right things.
Yeah. So with that being said, so obviously our season got canceled in like the fall or in the winter of 2021. What were like your expectations coming into last season? Like,
This past season that we did wrestle.
Yeah, this past season that we did wrestle. So winter of 2022.
I really, to start out the year, I don't think I had a lot of expectations. As far as what I would normally have, in high school, it was, I'm going to be a state champ this year. I don't think I had that coming in. It was kind of just, like I said before, do the right things and see what happens. And then after a couple tournaments, and I think especially after I beat Giordano, he was ranked number 1 at the time. That kind of flipped that switch. Like, all right, I could win nationals this year. I just beat the number 1 guy. Obviously there's better guys, but there's other guys ranked high, but I could really do this. And that's when that switch kind of flipped, that like I said, I could really win this thing. And that was my expectation after that match. After that Giordano match, my expectation was national champion.
Yeah, so so you had a great season. You took third at the NCAA tournament. Like, what did that placement like mean to you overall? Yeah, because obviously you were dealing with like a lot of injuries, and you were sick for a while, especially at regionals and like late in the year. Like, so after like taking third, what did that prove? Like, did you prove anything to yourself, or like what did that taking third mean to you?
I think I proved to myself that I hate third.
Yeah.
Third sucks.
Yeah.
Third sucks. Second sucks. Everything else below that sucks.
Yeah.
That was, was it cool getting third at nationals, staying on the podium? I went, like 25-1, something like that. Yes, it was cool. But when you're training every day to be a national champ, and then you take that loss in the semis, it just feels like the whole world comes down. Like, I remember standing in the back with Coach Mayfield, and I straight up asked him, I said, man, how do I keep wrestling after that? How do I wrestle again? I had to wrestle David Massey coming up, who was another good kid. And I just straight up asked him, like, how do I keep wrestling? How do I come back? Like, how do I not just take sixth now?
Yeah.
And I remember his answer to me was you just got to do it. You got to pick yourself up. You can't let two losses beat you, or one loss beat you. Can't let one loss beat you twice. And, that was kind of my motivation after that. Like, do you want to go home with sixth, or do you want to go home with third? Because that's all you can do now. What's done is done.
Yeah, because you hear that a lot with like especially at the D1 tournament, you see guys making it to the semis, they wind up taking sixth, and then like I even heard a quote one time by Burroughs. It was like, when you can't get what you want, or when you can't get what you want, you have to get what you can. So
Yes.
So with that being said, like, what do you have to do this season to get from third to taking first? Because obviously like that's a big jump. Like, even though it's only 2 placements higher, like obviously that's a big jump,
No, yeah, 100%. To be completely honest with you, I don't think I need to change anything.
Yeah.
I just got to keep doing the right things. It'll come, and, I lost to Perelka last year. I still don't think Perelka's better than me. I don't think that was really me, that match. I didn't wrestle like myself. And I know it's easy to say that after a loss. Oh, well, I wasn't myself. I'm still better than him. And, but I'll prove it this year. But no, like I said, I don't think I really need to change anything.
Yeah, because obviously, like you were in that match, like you said, you started off real slow, and then got like, how many takedowns did you get in a row?
I think 5.
Yeah, like 5 in a row, and it's like 13-12, or whatever the score was at that time, and then unfortunately got put to your back. So you were obviously right there with him and everything. But so with that being said, transitioning into this season, so what are the expectations? Obviously your goal is to be a national champ, but besides that, what are the expectations that you have for the team this year?
For the team?
Yeah.
It's hard to make goals for the team right now because we do have a lot of new guys, and on paper, what they've done before and what they're doing right now with training, I think we could have a great year. It's really going to come down to the first couple of tournaments, seeing what they actually do when they're out on that light, when they're out on the mat. But based off what I've seen so far, I think we can be top 10, top 5 in the country. I really do. We were 12th last year with 3 guys. Yeah. And really, if you look at, unfortunately, Hutch didn't win a match. So really, with 2 guys scoring points, we took 12th. And I really think we have a couple guys, you look at Coons, you look at Bear, bringing in Dawson Miller, really Cam again, Townsend's back, Sam Rodriguez at heavyweight. We have a lot of guys that if they keep their head on right and we stay healthy, we could take 6, 7, 8 guys to nationals. Yeah. And that's big points.
Yeah. And especially if you look at the difference between 12th and I don't even know, maybe 6th or 7th. It was all if Hutch had won a couple matches or won a match or 2, we're right there, right outside of top 5, top 8.
Yes.
So yeah.
Outside of Wartburg and what was that other school's name?
Augsburg, and then Central.
Yes, Augsburg and Central. The top 3 kind of ran away with it. After that, it was wide open.
Yeah, literally.
But even Wartburg wasn't the top three weren't as far off as a lot of people like to think. Like
Oh,
they
yeah.
weren't out there like 30, 40, 50 points more than everybody else. They were right there with the rest of the pack. They were just a little more ahead.
Yeah, literally. I mean, what the final team score was like, the Wartburg had won by a point over Central, and Central had like 5 in the finals, and
Yeah.
they didn't even win a match, which is like kind of like when you're like a coach, like you're just like, how the
Yeah.
hell did you not win a match when you have 5 in the finals, right? When you're
Yeah.
up by
Well,
a point.
Wartburg had a really bad semifinal round.
Yeah, didn't they also have a bad quarters too? Or yeah. And then like obviously like they're 57 in Hollingsworth. Everyone had him kind of like penciled in the finals, and then he had to forfeit out to 6 because he banged his knee up real
Yep,
bad.
that hurts. But
Yeah.
they picked up a lot of points through the consies. Their guys picked themselves up and wrestled back, which gave them a lot more points.
So yeah, so with that being said, what would be the biggest piece of advice you'd probably have to give yourself coming out of high school, coming into college?
Um, I would say two things. One, I wouldn't have been so Division I blinded. I would have given the time of day to some other schools. Like I said, I think I took a lot of opportunities away from myself, thinking that I should only be D1. I can only talk to D1 schools. And the other one would be that, you think you're working hard right now, you're not. I was a hard worker in high school. It's a different kind of hard work when you get to college.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would say those two. Division I blinders, and it's a lot more hard work once you get to the next level.
Yeah. So so 2-part question. So first one being, do you have a most memorable win that you've had in like, this could be in like high school, it could be youth, whatever, college, like, do you have like a most memorable win? And then do you also have a loss that like sticks out, like that more than any other loss that you've had?
I'm gonna go with loss first because that's what sticks with me the most. I would say Tyson Klump. Tyson Klump, my sophomore year of high school in the state semis. Another match, I started off slow. He got 2 takedowns in the first. I ended up losing 7-4. And I think he ended up winning like 9-2 in the state finals. And I majored both my kids on the way back to take third. So I think if I win that match, I'm a state champ. Not really much you can do about it now, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's one that sticks out. And then Perelka, obviously. That match is still stuck in my head. That's been stuck in my head since March 10th last year, whatever the day was. And as for a win, I don't know. I mean, I don't really have any that stick out. I think one that maybe meant something to me at the time was Master Giovanna. I beat him. He had teched me a few weeks before. It was freestyle. He had teched me a few weeks before the Northeast Regional Finals. And then I wrestled him at Cadet Duels. I was on Team PA. He was on Team Jersey. I beat him 12-11. So I would say I don't really have any memorable wins, but I would say as far as something that like meant something to me at the time, that would probably be one of them.
Yeah. So, okay. So that leads me to the next question. So what was the difference between the loss that you had with Klump in the state semis your senior or your sophomore year, and the match that you had with Haligas your quarters? Like what?
Yep.
Like what is the biggest difference there?
The biggest difference with Helios was that I don't think I was ready for that match. I came out kind of in my mind that we're gonna be able to wrestle back after this, not that I'm gonna find a way to win.
Yeah.
And then I got lazy. We got in a scramble, and out of that scramble, I ended up on my back, and there was nothing I could do. So I just didn't come out with the right mindset there. And that's another one I wish I could go back to, but obviously it's over and done with. You can't. The Klump match, honestly, I just think I was overmatched. I was a sophomore. He was a senior, returning state champ. I had never been to that stage before. I was at states the year before, but I didn't place. I lost my first match and had to wrestle back, and I went 1-2. But, being in the state semifinals, wrestling on the giant center mat against the returning state champ senior, I think that I was just overmatched. I was not mentally prepared to be in that situation at the time.
Yeah. So with that being said, do you have any other closing thoughts that you have for anyone, for the fans, I guess,
For the fans.
for the fans, for the teams, you know?
Nah, I mean, I got a hit list this year with a couple names on it.
Yeah, spit it
You're on
out.
that. What?
Spit it out for us. You know,
I ain't putting nobody out there. If they're on the list, they know.
Yeah, if you know, you know.
You know, you know.
Yeah. All right. Dalton, thank you so much for the time. I enjoyed having you on, and I will see you tomorrow at some point. But
Yep.
See you,
Appreciate it,
man.
man. Have a good one.
You too. When are you gonna